US dollar is in danger. The Iran war was the last chance for the United States to save the US dollar as the global reserve currency. But the United States accepted any deal possible just to get out of this war, since this war has turned into a complete disaster. And now the question is that, will the petrodollar continue to exist? Is it literally the end of petrodollar? Will the dollar stop being global reserve currency starting from now, and the world will start moving to some kind of a different currency? The petrodollar system was really great both for the United States and the Middle East. Middle East loved the system because it allowed the Middle East to buy technologies and invest back into the United States. If you go back to 1970s and 80s, the vast majority of that oil would either go to the United States or to US allies such as the European countries or Japan. And Japanese economy back in the days was literally the fastest growing economy in the world. So the Middle East would easily accept the US dollars, since they knew that now they can use these dollars to buy technology from the United States, buy weapons from the European countries, or maybe buy cars from Japan. But that system has fundamentally changed for one single reason, because we're no longer in 1980s and 1990s. Starting from about 2010 or 2012, the Middle Eastern oil completely shifted because China became the rising power, and now China literally buys about 55% of all the oil that goes through the Middle East. If the Middle East will start accepting the yuan, what are you going to do with these yuans? China has strict capital controls. There is no way that you can take this money and invest it back in China. Secondly, China wasn't actually producing a lot of great stuff that Middle East needed. China was known to produce stuff that is made in China, which meant back in the days that the quality was much more inferior compared to the United States and the rest of the world. But that dynamic has changed when China became the world's largest economy when it comes to purchasing power parity. So in that sense, China is already the largest economy in the world, and in 10 to 15 years from now, it might even become the world's largest economy in nominal GDP as well. And this happened because China suddenly started advancing in technology, and China started building cars, planes, you name it. And here was the question for the Middle East. If now we are buying a lot of the same stuff that we used to buy from the United States, now China makes them at the fraction of the price, why don't we simply buy all of that stuff from China? Now we can buy cars from China, planes from China, technology from China, smartphones from China. So if there is a lot of trade between the Middle East and China, the question is that why do we need the middleman or the middle currency, which is the US dollar? Because every single time we're converting our currencies to the US dollars and then converting them back into yuan, that means that we're losing money on the exchange rate. But if we directly convert them from their currencies to yuan, that means that we're saving money on the conversion rate. And that's when the Middle East started asking the most important question, that why don't we simply move to yuan? China is anyways buying like more than half of our energy. And if you look at the United States, first of all, the United States is far away on the other side of the world. So if we sell the exact same oil to China and the United States, because the US is far away from the Middle East compared to China, the transportation cost is going to be a lot more expensive. So it's much cheaper to sell it to China. Now, secondly, unlike the United States, China doesn't have much resources anyways. The United States today is the world's largest oil producer in the world. The US produces far more than any Middle Eastern countries. It produces far more than Russia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, you name it. So now the United States is a direct competitor to the Middle East, which means that if you're competing with the United States, it makes more sense for you to sell it to China and save money and become even more competitive. But there was one fatal problem. China and the Middle East, they did not have the financial infrastructure to do the transactions bypassing the US financial system. It was not in the interest of the United States for these countries to sell their oil in yuan and not the US dollars. So if you want to use the US financial system, that means that you will have to use the US dollar as the currency when you are transacting. So China decided to fix that by building an alternative financial system. So in 2015, China launches the CIPS. This is basically an alternative to SWIFT. SWIFT is the global financial messaging app that allows countries and banks to talk to one another and send money, in other words, if you can call it like that. So China launches CIPS. Now we have an alternative financial system. And China started instantly using it with the countries that it trades the most, especially the Middle East, from where it buys so much energy and it sells a lot of their goods to the Middle East. In 2018, China launches the Shanghai International Energy Exchange. This is basically where they create a financial system where people can trade futures on oil and gas. In other words, this is the birth of petro-yuan. Now anyone can trade oil in yuan in the Shanghai Stock Exchange, whether these are the financial firms in China or anywhere in the world. It was still very limited to China, but it was a very clear message from China that now China is officially competing with the United States for the status of petrodollar or petro-yuan. And then in 2021, China does something fundamentally different. China launches the Enbridge system. This system is where central banks can directly send money to one another, bypassing the entire financial system. So if China wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, the Chinese central bank can pay the Saudi Arabian central bank directly, bypassing the entire financial system set by the United States, because one central bank digitally is sending money to another central bank. And this was possible because of blockchain technology, and China made sure that they can take full advantage out of it. This system was so advanced that the Bank of International Settlements, which is the bank for central banks, so all central banks, starting from the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of China, these banks work together to ensure that the global financial system works more flawlessly, even though that officially not a single country actually controls the Bank of International Settlements. The Federal Reserve has the biggest impact on it because the Federal Reserve controls the US dollar. The Bank of International Settlements is extremely important to the Fed because that's how the Fed ensures that no one is getting out of the system and the United States has a strong hold over the financial system. But then the 2022 happens and Russia is forced to sell their oil entirely in yuan, bypassing the US dollar. Not because Russia purposely wanted to do so, but rather Russia found itself facing so many sanctions. There was no way for Russia to sell its oil in US dollars or euro or any other currency. So suddenly they are like, if we don't have any other option, and oil makes a significant chunk of our government's revenue, in fact, it makes like 50 to 70% of Russia's government's revenue, they had to move instantly overnight to yuan. That was a great boost for petro-yuan because they instantly had to boost the system so fast and ensure that the petro-yuan actually works. And now the world is like, look at Russia, one of the largest oil producers in the world. It's responsible for about 12% of the global oil supply, and most of that oil is sold in yuan. India was one of the largest buyer of Russian oil, and India had to buy yuans in order to be able to buy oil from Russia. Suddenly, on the international stage, yuan is a direct competitor to the petrodollar. In 2024, Saudi Arabia joins the Enbridge system. Suddenly, the largest oil producer in the Middle East is joining the system in order to exclusively sell their oil in yuan when they're selling their oil to India or China. This was a serious warning to the United States because the Middle East is responsible for about a third of the global oil supply. Russia is responsible for about 12% of the global oil supply. If this trend would continue and the entire oil from the Middle East, just like in Russia, will be sold in yuan, that's half of the global oil supply. This is literally the world moving from petrodollar to petro-yuan. Of course, that's not 100% of all the oil because the US is still the largest oil producer in the world. But when half of the world moves to petro-yuan, they will start setting the standard for the rest of the world. Suddenly, it will become a standard to sell your oil in yuan, and the largest player in the market are using this infrastructure. So in October 2024, the US takes the first decision. It forces the Bank of International Settlements to leave the Enbridge system because the Enbridge system has become so advanced. Now it's used by largest countries in the world, and the United States is afraid. So they literally ditched that system, pushing China on its own. China realizes that it has built a really great system and starts expanding the system. This is the moment when the US realizes that we gotta do something to bring the world back to the petrodollar. Petrodollar has really been great for the US because when the rest of the world is buying US dollars to buy oil, now they're making money. They're sitting on a lot of US dollars. And sitting on a lot of cash makes no sense for anybody because there is inflation. So you will reinvest that money back into the United States. Either you will start buying a lot of US treasuries and you will be earning interest. But when you're buying US treasuries, you are investing that money back into the United States. Or you can take that money and invest it in the US stock market, which will force the stock market to grow much faster because now there is a lot of more demand. Even if you don't do any of those things, it's much easier to invest that money in the United States since the economy is growing and you don't have to deal with all of these currency exchanges. So it sets the standard for the rest of the world to use the dollar as the global reserve currency. But now one of the biggest pillars of the US dollar is collapsing. So the United States has to do something. And the easiest way to bring the world back is to force the Middle Eastern countries to come back to the petrodollar. So in summer 2025, the United States launches a 12-day war where they attack Iran. While the message they told the world that we don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons, the truth was that they wanted to send a message to the Middle Eastern countries that, listen, if you're not going to come back under the influence of the United States, you have an enemy which is called Iran, and Iran is going to attack you. And they also wanted to provoke Iran so that Iran will start attacking the Middle Eastern countries. The more infrastructure they would destroy in the Middle East, the more the Middle East will be dependent on the United States. Yes, it might be a bit more expensive to use petrodollar, but at least when we're using the petrodollar, we are under the protection of the United States. And if you don't have security, you don't have trade. If you don't have trade, you don't have anything. That war ends very quickly. Instead, it sends an opposite message. The Middle East understands that relying on the United States entirely makes no sense because we almost got the major war in the Middle East. So the average system develops much faster and the Middle East starts selling their oil and gas much more in yuan instead of the US dollars. So in 2026, the US launches a major war against Iran. The goal of the war was that to change the regime in Iran and make it pro-American. And a pro-American regime means that we will lift all the sanctions out of Iran, and now Iran is the best friend of the United States, and Iran will be selling their oil exclusively in the US dollars. Now, other Middle Eastern countries would see that Iran became an ally of the United States that reinforces the power of the US in the Middle East, and these nations will come back to the petrodollar, and that will be the end of petro-yuan. But unfortunately, the United States literally fails to change the regime in Iran. Plan B most likely was that the United States will control the Strait of Hormuz. So if you want your oil to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, you have to sell your oil exclusively in US dollars. Of course, the United States is not going to say that loudly, but that's the message that everybody in the region understands. You've been moving too closely to China, and now it's time to understand that the maritime trade and choke points is controlled by the United States. So either you are going to go back to the US influence or you won't be selling your oil at all to international markets. And Gulf countries are very vulnerable because these are deserts. They don't have anything. They don't even have water. So if they won't be selling their oil, they won't have any money for anything, and that is literally the end of their economies. But the US also fails to do that because it was Iran that was controlling the Strait of Hormuz. The United States and European Union, they started massively releasing their strategic oil reserves, and they were running out of oil. By November of this year, the European Union would run out of their strategic reserves, and it would create a financial catastrophe in the entire European Union. By March of next year, the strategic oil reserves in the US would also end, maybe even faster, because now Europe will be competing for the exact same oil that the US is buying, since the US and European Union are buying oil from the exact same markets. Realizing these risks, Trump instantly makes a decision to end the war at any cost. It doesn't matter. Yes, the deal that Iran has proposed to end the war was an absolute humiliation for the United States, but the US had to accept this deal to prevent the global economy from collapsing. Because if you want to be the global reserve currency, at least you should not collapse the global economy. The US tried to open the strait for many months until negotiation wins, but every single attempt to open the strait absolutely failed. And now the United States has two options. The first option is that the Memorandum of Understanding is going to be the final peace deal, and that will be the end of petrodollar. Because if you read the Memorandum of Understanding, it literally means that Iran has won, and even the United States promised to invest $300 billion in Iran. Now suddenly the region will understand that yes, this is the war that the US has started, but the United States was not ready to fight until the end for petrodollar, which means that not a single other US president will actually risk a war with Iran. And if Trump couldn't actually do it, then the next president of the United States, understanding these risks, is of course not going to do that. So the region can much faster move into petro-yuan. That will slow down the US economy, and less US dollars will be invested back into the US economy. If the world now will start buying oil less in US dollars, that means that there will be less US dollars across the globe. That means that less US dollars will be flowing back into the United States, which will slow down the economy. It doesn't mean the end of the US economy or US dollar as the global reserve currency overnight, but it will significantly weaken it. The second option that the US has, and this is the option that most likely is going to happen, that this deal is just a lunch break. The US realized that everything we're trying is not working, we're not able to open the strait, and we're putting at risk the entire global economy. So we are ready to sign whatever Iran is going to ask. Yes, it is going to be a humiliation, but we're not going to accept this deal as a final deal anyways. We're basically signing it just to give the global economy an extra breath, so that we will come back, make another plan, find out how we can open the Strait of Hormuz, and then we will restart the war. Now, some people don't believe that the war will be restarted, but think about it this way. Trump started the war in 2025. That war lasted for 12 days, and then they started negotiating. In the middle of negotiations, Donald Trump literally decapitates the entire leadership of Iran, and when the US fails to open the strait, the US goes back to negotiations just to accept this deal to give them time. If the US was very serious about this deal, then the US would not accept such a bad deal. The US would negotiate until the end because they know that this is going to be the final deal. But because the United States simply wants a break for the global economy, the US accepted everything that Iran has thrown on it. The problem is that time is not on the side of the United States. The longer the Strait of Hormuz is under the control of Iran, the more likely the world is going to accept that new status quo. Secondly, it gives time for Iran to regroup and replan, understand how the United States is fighting, and prepare themselves much better for the next attack of the United States. So phase 3 will start probably after the midterm elections, because then Trump has nothing to lose. Now, the US is going into midterm elections, and since inflation is rising, the Federal Reserve is hinting that it might raise interest rates. Trump does not want to risk it because he might lose the midterm elections. Most likely he's going to lose it, but at least you have to fight and give it a chance to win. Whatever is going to happen with the midterms, after that, Trump has absolutely nothing to lose, and he might actually start a complete ground invasion. Phase 3 of this war is where the United States has to find a way to open the strait by force. And the goal of phase 3 is to prove to the rest of the world that the United States still controls maritime choke points. You don't have to control all the seas in the world. As long as you control the most important choke points in the world, you control the global trade. So this might not be a full ground invasion to take over the entire of Iran, but rather this could be a limited invasion of the Strait of Hormuz, where the ships can pass freely through the strait and the United States will have full control of Iran. And that is most likely the next step in the war of Iran. When exactly the war is going to restart, I don't know for a fact, but what I know for a fact is that it is going to have huge implication on the stock market. The question you should be asking yourself is that what are the top 5 stocks I should be buying that when the United States will start phase 3, these stocks are going to accelerate and I will be making a lot of money. Because at the end of the day, any war or any global financial event is a huge transfer of wealth from one group of people to another. And the stock market is the largest place where that transfer of wealth is happening. So if you want to know what are the top 5 stocks you should be buying right now, then check out the first link in the description of this video.